So, what can you tell me about this pattern as far as the grain? Are these cut on grain or cross grain?
On grain.
It's all cross. Because here's the grain line, and look at how the pattern parts are laid.
Oh, okay.
They're all cross. Why do they have to be cut cross grain? So the stretch ends up around the body, right? So you're not wearing it like this, you're wearing it like this. You want the stretch this way. What are these two things, these racing stripes? Why are they on grain?
Because they're going different.
Oh, because you want, hold on, because you want them stretching up, like long ways up and down that.
So what part of the garment is this? Shoulder strap. So the stretch has to go vertical. And on a warp knit, almost all swimwear is cut. I don't like to call it off grain. Off grain is neither bias, cross, or on. It's just wrong, okay? So swimwear, almost all of it is cut cross grain because you need to stretch around the body, right? One other item that let's see. I'll give you an example of what they call seamless. I call it hardly seamless because there's a shoulder seam, right? There's an armhole, here's the cap, and now we have an attached longer sleeve, and then there's an underarm seam. So what's the only seam that's missing in a seamless? The side seam. So t-shirts that don't have any side seams, they're tubular. The ones that have side seams are cut and sewn. Does that make sense? Okay. This was made on a lace machine. This is seamless. There's no armhole. There's no underarm seam. There's no side seam. The whole thing comes off. So remember, circular or weft knit this way or back and forth. Do you know what full fashioning is? Where you shape sweaters?
Is it like, so, is it like when you're like knitting a sock and you do the toe first, and then once you get to the heel, you only knit one half of that circle?
Exactly.
And then to continue the.
Right, because the only seam in a sock is the toe, right?
But isn't that a lot of pressure? If you screw up at the toe, it's gonna ruin the whole thing.
Yes, yeah, and in manufacturing, there's always issues, right? You just have to, hopefully there aren't as many issues, there's less of them, right? Otherwise, it's not lucrative. Anyway, this comes off, they're sort of like sausage links. They're all connected. Now at one point, I don't have the gray goods on this, I only have a finished product. But at one point, you know, you can't just stop running the yarn. There's yarn connected, and then here comes the next garment, and then the next one, right? But look at all the stretch that, the only sewing on this was the hem. Look at all the stretch it has. So the reason why this has so much stretch is because there is spandex in it, right? So quick question. What has more stretch, a knit without spandex or a woven with? A knit without spandex or a woven with spandex? Which one stretches more? The knit. Because it's inherent in the construction, right? Your stretch jeans, they only have like what, 3 or 4% spandex? What do you think swimwear has? 15, right? What end use do you think has the most spandex? And it has nothing to do with fashion. Medical. Compression, right? And that's mostly warp knit, right? Because warp knit is more stable, right? Sometimes when you, right here, is it this? Yeah, it's this building. There's a green fence. There's a fabric on that fence. It's all warp knit. Tricot and Rochelle. Swimwear is mostly tricot. Rochelle's are mostly lace. All right, so just to give you an idea, now we didn't own these machines. I had the $200,000 machines. We had 90 of them. This is a $2 million machine that makes this, and this is a $2.5 million machine. So you can't really just have one. You have to have at least two. One for development and one for production. Does that make sense? Okay, so how do you check stretch? Does anybody know? Just a tabletop.
The ratio.
guess?
Ratio.
Ratio or percentage, all right? So if you do a tabletop, so here's my 0, 5-inch. If I come out to 6 inches on 5, what's my percentage of stretch?
20.
So this is 20%. If I come out to 7,
40.
40. If I come out to 8, 60, right? You get the idea? 9-inch, 80%. And then of course 10-inch, I'm doubling it, so it's 100%. Does that make sense? So this is your sample size. And it has to be 2-ply, all right? T-shirts, leggings, without spandex now. Where do you think they end up? Out here, 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 where do you think they end up?
20%.
A little more. Your jeans might come out to here, maybe.
60.
Yeah, they'll come out here, 60, 80. What's coming out here? Swimwear, right? So this is only my own opinion. Swimwear is nothing more than glorified lingerie, all right? And that's what it is. What is the key element in stretch? Like what? Why do you like stretch? Comfort. What else?
It can be formulated depending on the fabric.
Shape retention, right? But what's the key word in stretch? Is it recovery or strength? It's recovery, right? Stretch is about recovery. Is spandex strong or weak? It's one of the weakest fibers. This is stretch. This is not strength. Don't ever confuse stretch and strength. They're completely opposite. Spandex, well, I'll use my example of a rubber band. What happens to the rubber band when you hit the maximum point of stretch? It snaps. And that's what happens. How many of you have a pair of underwear where the spandex is poking out? Over time, washing it, drying it, right? It dries out. Light will also deteriorate, break down spandex as well, but that takes more time. But over time, just like an old rubber band, it dries out, it loses its elasticity. The same thing happens with spandex, okay? So when you stretch it, sometimes you hear that cracking sound. That's not a good sound, right? It's either it's old or you gotta go up a size, all right? So if I take, do we have oh, I can use this here actually. Let me use this one here. Is this a, yeah, this is a ruler. These are an inch. Okay, come on up here. I mean, yeah, there are machines that test stretch, but if you want to do a quick tabletop. So what's my sample size?
5 inches.
5 inches, right? So this is my 0 line. Here's my 5. Comfortably. See how far out that goes? You know what? Can I draw on this? Where is Amy? I can't mark this, can I?
Here, let me get you some paper.
Or, no, you know what? Do you have a see-through, one of those 2-inch, 18-inch see-through rulers?
She's going to get one.
Grab one. Can I borrow yours, George?
All right, here we go.
We have one.
Okay.
All right. Wow, I need a contrast of some kind.
You want some paper?
No,
Yeah.
here we
Yeah.
go. All right. So we'll start at the 0. Here's my 5, and comfortably, right? I mean, is it supposed to be worn like this?
No.
Right? I call this 2 pounds of bologna in a 1 pound bag, right? Out here. So I'm going to the 11. What is that? 120%, because it has the spandex, right? Again, your jeans, they're coming out here, right? So, ladies, why do you always go back to the same brand of undergarment, mainly bras? What's the number one reason?
They're comfortable.
Because they fit and they're comfortable. Why do you think there's consistency of fit?
Because they have their own standardized like sizing.
Plus, the fibers that they use, and I'll throw this word out, I don't know if you're gonna know it, thermoplasticity. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
It's the ability to heat set. So when the fabric is made, it goes through, it's called a tentaframe, and it's set, right? So they set that fabric so you don't have residual shrinkage. So when you put it on the cutting table, if there's residual shrinkage, your larges will become mediums, your mediums will become smalls, and your smalls will go to Ross. Because they won't fit, right? And that's the reality. So the reason why you go back to that brand is because they are consistent. It's not the manufacturer, it's the manufacturer of the fabric. They are set, so they can't really adjust, right? Let's say you've made your patterns for a fabric that has 100% stretch, okay? Now the fabric comes in and it only has 80% stretch. Are you making your patterns larger or smaller? You have to make them larger. If you have 100% fabric, 100% stretch fabric, and the fabric comes in at, let's say, 120% stretch, you're gonna make your pattern smaller. Right? I have seen my customers not follow this rule, and then they go and cut it, and then they get it all back, or they have to give a big discount because the stretch is important. And there's so many. When I came out of FIT, there were only 3 markets that use stretch: intimates, intimates, swim, and what's the third one that has nothing to do with fashion? Medical. That was it. There were no stretch jeans. There were no stretch satins. We did have TVs, so I'm not that old. But it's become very commonplace now, right? Even us as manufacturers, we went through a big learning curve to learn how to knit with spandex all of a sudden. Because I did not service that market as much. We chose to knit without spandex, because spandex is expensive, right? Polyester might be $2 or $3 a pound now. Spandex is upwards of $25 a pound. So it gets very expensive, and it has to be prepared properly, or otherwise it will not feed into the machine properly. Does that make sense? So when we're knitting it, it doesn't look like this. It looks like this. So when it comes off the machine, it relaxes. You always have to keep in mind the end use and what you want it to look like when it's finished. not when it's being manufactured. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any questions? Yes.
It's an interesting weave at the bottom and at the sleeves.
Well, you mean here?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can. This is a jacquard.
Oh.
So, anytime you have an elaborate design like this and it's not basic, it's almost jacquards don't just apply to wovens like damasks and tapestries. There's jacquard wovens, jacquard weft knits, and this is a jacquard, all right? And jacquard warp knits. These are all warp knits that I'm showing you, all right? So it's about, jacquard basically allows you to have almost an unlimited design capabilities. Does that make sense? Right? I mean, there's limitations, of course, but jacquard versus non-jacquard, you have much greater design capabilities with that attachment. It's also more expensive, but it gives you a better product for what you're looking at. It all depends on what you want to do, right? Do you have any questions?
Follow up, I guess.
Yeah.
I did notice the weave on the sleeves and the bottom because it's not like mine with what I'm wearing.
Okay, so yours is pieced,
Mhm.
right? Where this is just knit right in. Okay, so Skims, you're familiar with that brand? Kind of knocked off Spanx, it's called, right? Okay. They sort of took over that market a little bit. Look at their garments. There's no seams. There's no side seam.
That's right.
There's no crotch seam. There's no inseam because it's made on this machine. So you have to understand the warp knits that make these seamless products, they come off like this, facing each other. So now,
Tubular.
kind of, it's sort of tubular, yeah. But it's like flat tubular. They face each other. But what I want to point out to you is that I know this looks like a seam. This is the shoulder. The machine is programmed to come together and say, okay, it's time to make the shoulder. We close it up, and then it separates. Does that make sense? There's a yarn that comes across to make both. That's why these are expensive. But, they're selling them to make the return on the investment of the machine, so that's why they're high priced. But this, honestly, $24, as you see it, dyed, finished, and everything, all right? But they were selling them in the store for $300. I wasn't buying them, but anyhow, this is cross-dyed, so it came off all white and it went into the dye tub and comes out 2 colors, right? And I'll show you some others that are cross-dyed. But you need different fibers, right? So this one I believe is 3 fiber. It's spandex, poly is the white, and then the mauve is nylon, right? So nylon, if you're not using spandex, you're going to use stretch nylon. Does that make sense? So when you sew a stretch fabric, you can't use a non-stretch sewing thread. Does that make sense? Right? I had a student from FIDA, went into her own swimwear business. I was helping her out. I came into her factory one day, or showroom, and she was boasting about how she just made a great deal on a purchase of all this sewing thread. I said, well, that's good, but you're sewing swimwear, not muslin. None of it stretched. You have to have compatibility. So when you're stretching, you have to have a sewing thread that also moves. So a lot of the times it's stretch nylon, right? You see all this time of year, you see a lot of houses decorated for Halloween. They have this fake white spider web looking. That's 2nd and 3rd quality stretch nylon that they could not sell. If you don't, but yet they're getting a full price for it because of what it's being used for. But that is yarn you cannot put into fabric. If you put 2nd and 3rd quality yarn into a fabric, you're going to get 2nd and 3rd quality fabric. Okay, so that stuff is great because it stretches, because it's nylon. You couldn't leave it up there all year round because eventually the sun would. Silk and nylon are broken down by sunlight. All right, that's why silk drapes need to have linings, or otherwise they'll look like the car wash in about 6 months to a year. They'll start to separate. Okay, they break down. That's why marine, all polyester. zero nylon in boating, right? What else? Do you have any questions?
I have a question. Since we're changing the thread, there are certain needles that adhere to that? When you're doing
The
like-
needles are all the same. It's just a question of how far apart they are. So, for example, let me put is there a marker there? The green one, any colors. All right. So yeah, it goes by gauge, right? Or
Yes.
cut. So I've got a 9 gauge and I have a 32 gauge. Which one is the sweater and which one is the t-shirt?
So it's
Sweater
sweater's
is 9.9.
T-shirt
The
is-
t-shirt is 9.
T-shirt's
and that's-
9.
Yeah. Sweater.
Swimwear or leggings sometimes, fineness, right? Which one can take a larger size yarn? Think about sweater and swimwear. Which one's using a heavier yarn?
The
The sweater, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't get a heavy yarn through that space. This is per inch, by the way. So think about how small a 1/16 of an inch is, and now I've got 32nd of an inch. I cannot get a sweater yarn in this gate, but I can here. I know this looks fine on a ruler, it's 1/8 of an inch, but in the knitting world, it's like a garage door, all right? It's very open, okay? So swimwear is here, okay? When you see swimwear sometimes, like sun shirts, I think, we call them rash guards, I did. And they say SPF 50, doesn't mean they've been finished in sunblock. It means that the coverage is so great, it blocks out the UV rays.
That's what it is.
That's what you learned. I feel better now that I got an aha moment.
It's like using a smaller needle on the knit. So you can knit with a big needle, you can knit with a
Yes.
tiny needle. Is it akin to stitch length when you're like sewing wovens or something? Like you have a bigger stitch length, there's more room?
You do. I mean, it's called the quality gear, but yeah, you can pull it down further and make the stitch more open. But with swimwear, you want it tighter, right? Because you need the coverage, right? You know, swimwear, synthetic or natural fibers. Synthetic. So when you come out of the water, it dries quicker. It's hydrophobic. Do you know that term?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so hydrophilic absorbs, hydrophobic does not absorb, right? All synthetic fibers are mostly hydrophobic. All natural fibers are mainly hydrophilic. What about, do you know what regenerated cellulose is? What's the most common regenerated cellulose fiber? You know, viscose, which is better known as rayon, right? So viscose is made here in this country. Cupramonium. So, do any of you own product from Zara?
Yes.
And it says Cupra on it. That means the rayon came from Europe. Cupramonium is the actual word. So anyway, those are mainly hydrophilic, right? So hydrophobics, they pill, but they have good resiliency. And hydrophilics, they don't necessarily pill. Wool pills because of the scaly surface. But it also has to be dry cleaned, right? So anyhow, I'm sure at this point, many of us, I know in my house, we do this. You can separate your laundry, not just by color, but by synthetic and natural, because there's that many garments. But then there's many companies that like to boast sustainability, right? My opinion in sustainability is, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. The greenest thing about sustainability is the money being made on the marketing. I'm sorry, but that I just kind of like to tell it like it is.
It's the truth.
Green labeling or something?
Yeah, but how can anything be sustainable if it's synthetic?
Yeah.
It requires, you know, if oil goes up in price, polyester will be more expensive in a year because it takes about a year to go from raw material to fiber production. Okay? Any other questions?
What about recycled plastic to turn that into polyester?
I mean, I feel upcycling is the most sustainable, reusing and not putting new into the world. Recycling is also good, however, it takes energy to break it down and then reproduce it. So there's no perfect, sustainable product. Upcycling, my wife and I do some upcycling. We'll take old furniture and recover it and put it back out there, right? We sell it on Craigslist or whatever, Facebook, whoever's buying it. But, you know, like those fabrics, the home furnishings, my garage is filled with these. And we just, you know, we don't buy furniture, we find people who are giving it away, all right? I mean, even the W Hotel in where is it, in Westwood, they were getting rid of all their outdoor furniture. I picked up a whole sectional, we recovered it, and put it around the pool. Done. I never had to pay for it other than to reupholster it. Because I don't do the reupholster, we send it out. We're not that good. Anyhow, does this make sense?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, when it comes to like scuba and swimwear type fabrics, you know, you said that because of the tight weave, it kind of repels the sun, or not
Right.
repels, but
It's
you know,
coverage, it has full coverage.
So what's confusing to me is why for those type of fabrics they say don't put them in the dryer, like they can be in, you can be in the sun, but you can't put the fabric
Okay.
in the dryer.
It's the heat.
Because the heat, what's the heat doing?
Destroying
Destroying which fiber?
the
The spandex. The spandex will dry out, and then eventually it'll stop. Do you have a garment where all of a sudden there's a little ripple? I call it the lasagna noodle look. That's because the spandex missing, right?
But why doesn't the sun doesn't do that though?
Heat
The
Well,
sun's beating down
let
on
me
it?
just tell you,
Just heat.
if your swimwear is breaking down in the sun, you probably need to see a dermatologist.
Okay, I see. You're not in the sun.
Right?
Okay.
That means you've been in the sun too long, all right?
Okay.
Should you be hanging your swimwear out all day long?
No.
No, because it will break it down little by little. Lights break down spandex. We found that out the hard way when we started producing one of the learning curves. When we started producing lace with spandex, we were shipping it in clear plastic bags. Well, the warehouses have lights. The converters didn't dye it for, let's say, a year. And now all of a sudden it started feeling tender, it's called, right? So what did we have to do? Put everything in black plastic bags so it was fully opaque and the lights couldn't affect it. Now they just shut the lights off. I mean, that's what I said, why are you even, nobody's in here, why do you leave the lights on all day?
Right.
That's a whole nother thing, dark factories. You should look up what dark factories are. That's a scary thing. They're robotics that don't require lights. Robots don't need lights. That's why they're called dark factories. They don't need lights, all right? So anyway, I think though the garment industry is one of the last to be affected by it, but it will be at one point. What else can I show you? Let's see.
The different colors because you said there's 3 different fibers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The different colors or different shades, it's because each fiber absorbs the dye differently? Or?
It's a different chemical. So, do you ever color Easter eggs? Eggs, there's eggs, right? Is the egg cellulosic, protein, or synthetic?
Protein.
Protein. And what does the dye smell like?
Like alcohol or something.
Vinegar. Doesn't it smell like vinegar? Right? You put the little tab in, you add a little vinegar to it. It's an acid base. So nylon takes acid dyes. Oh, there's many different classes of dyes. And it depends. If you want good color fastness, you understand what color fastness is, all right?
The color doesn't wash
Wash
out.
out.
Right, washout or sunlight
Sunlight.
or whatever, crocking,
Yeah.
washability, all of it. If you want good color fastness to washing, they use different dyes. If you want good color fastness to sunlight, they might use a different dye. But either way, you have to use the right dye class so there is an affinity, an attraction, all right? So don't stay here. I like you guys up here. Here, let me just
It's
show
gonna
you.
be on the test, y'all. You know that? She taking notes. Better not taking notes.
Oh, sorry.
I was talking with the ladies in the.
Okay, so we make so many pounds of this lace. This is a lace, all right? we always call, what was it called, the flame stitch or Missoni, right? It's like a Missoni knockoff.
Sony,
Okay,
definitely.
so are we wearing it this way or are we wearing it this way?
Like
This way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's produced this way.
Oh.
This is made on a lace machine. The selvage is here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, I always have a little stretch, selvage to selvage, but my stretch mainly is this way.
Ah.
Zero spandex. This is stretch nylon. There's no spandex in here. It went in white and came out 3 colors.
Beautiful.
So, what fiber do you think is the white? What's the hardest fiber to dye? Polyester.
Polyester.
You need the highest heat. You need about 400 degrees to dye polyester properly.
Wow.
And they put them in closed vats. Atmospheric dyeing can only go up to what temperature? Boiling.
212.
212, right? That's the original area code of Manhattan. That's 212, right? Celsius, it's 100. So the poly stays white. What fiber do you think is the green? It's a manufactured cellulosic
Wait a minute. I missed that.
rayon.
Rayon.
And the purple is what? Because the net is purple, and that's the stretch. So it's nylon, right? So we could have done 4 colors because you can make the polyester, but here's what happens. When you start dyeing the polyester a color, it starts staining the others. So the polyester always has to stay the lightest color when you have a mix like this. Okay, so that's a stretch nylon.
Let me see.
Here's a basic knit. This is when we were, during COVID, we were fooling around. Students weren't in the classrooms, but we still taught. This was, during COVID when we were teaching over Zoom. This was my name. I called myself Boomer Zoomer. Right? So plenty of stretch, no spandex. This is a weft knit. Knit stitches on both sides, and this is a double knit. And the sides structurally look different. Interlocks, kind of like this. I think this is an interlock. Well, this might be a Ponte, but let's just say there's an interlock.
Those are pants.
Structurally now, not aesthetically, both sides look the same on an interlock, and it's the most stable, right? Can we talk about color for a second?
Yes.
How is this dyed or printed? What came first? This side or this side? The orange, right? It was dyed orange. And then what would you call this print? It's called an overprint.
Oh.
Okay? So the fabric was dyed orange and then they overprinted this design.
Like a screen print?
But that would be a method. So it's screen roll, but what's the most common method of printing now? Digital. It's almost all digital now. The problem is that it works best on polyester. So there goes your sustainability theory. All right? That's what I'm saying, that there's no perfect world. It depends on, like my wife's company, they do a lot of shower curtains. Everything is digitally printed. You could have a shower curtain that has no repeat. It's different from side to side and top to bottom. It is completely digital. Okay, but it's polyester because it's hydrophobic and you don't want to get the wet, right? I mean, these are just some things I played around with. I had a patent at one point on this. This is a lace tie, but then the lawyer wanted too much money, so I abandoned it. We came up with this recently.
Nice.
I'm trying to get it off the ground, but these are my washable makeup removers.
Oh.
You like that? This is a woven. What's the name of this fabric? Terry cloth. Knit terry is knit terry. Terry cloth is woven. All right? And I told people, I said, if you don't like it, then use it as a coaster. But it is organic, it's hemp, and it's cotton. All right? And the bag, quite honestly, got it off of Amazon for like 10 cents. Recycled polyester. I had to buy 200 of them. And then we have my garage, we have 2 cutting tables, we have a dress form, a size 8, and I have a 5 spool overlock It's a different name though. I used to call it a
Serger.
serger, but it's a five. I cannot cover stitch. I cannot thread it. I've taken videos and everything.
Yeah.
I have to have somebody come in. That's why whoever uses it, I say, do not break it. The thread, and then we have a single needle. So that's how we made these. Just hired somebody, paid them by the piece, and they did. You know how hard it was to do a round. I tried to come up with a device and put it underneath the table to track it. Didn't work. So we used that. Then just this is dissolvable. So this is sustainable, right? You could put this in the sink, run hot water over it, and it will turn into liquid and down the drain, right? Or if it ends up in the landfill, it'll eventually break down, right? They make I think this is coming out of China. I don't know what it's made out of, but I don't know that they want us to know that. Yeah, they call it the invisible bag. All right, so so you see how this curls? Right, so what kind of machine do you think this is made on if it curls? What's the only knit that curls? What are the 3 basic weft knits? Jersey, rib, and pearl knit, but that's not as common. The 4 common weft knits are jersey, rib, double knit, and interlock. Those are the 4 most common. This was made on a jersey machine, which is why it curls. This is a velour. It's called a pile knit, specifically a cut pile. All right, so the loop is pulled to the back of the machine. I know you would all agree that this is the show side, correct? This is the technical back of the fabric. This is the technical face. This is the knit stitch side. This is the purl side, but you can't see the purl because there's a pile. Does that make sense? So any pile knit, you're using the technical back as the face. So this is how we draw knit stitches. These. And this is the purl. So here's how you remember it. Curl to the purl.
Oh, curl to the pearl.
When it curls to the back, it's curling to the purl side. All right, I know that this is a pile knit, so it's a little bit different, but they behave. But a plain jersey without any pile curls to the purl. The sides curl to the back, and the top and bottom go forward. But that's why circular knits are good for t-shirts, so you don't have to cut and sew them. Right, because when you cut and sew a jersey, it starts to ride up on the selvage. Now you have to make your marker narrower, right? Because that's why they can't pile them up so high. They've got to go low. But it all depends on again the the expansion. American Apparel, was it called American Apparel? They had that big plant in Alameda. I mean, their problem, in my opinion, is that they went into the retail business and they expanded too quickly, and then it collapsed. Anyhow, what's the easiest way to tell a knit from a woven?
You look at how it's made, I guess. Because if you look at a knit, it looks like it's knit. Like,
Stretch it.
yeah.
All right, stretch is
The
one
woven
factor.
looks like a grid, 'cause it's a stretchy
Right,
knit.
because it's interlaced. Technically, it's called interlacing, right? Which one is easier to get the yarns out of? Because this is the easiest way to tell the difference.
To get the
The woven. The wovens they'll come right out, all right? Good luck getting the yarn out of this.
It's all twisted.
You never will.
Yeah.
You'll get the yarn out of this one. I doubt you'll get
No,
this
not
yarn.
much.
You'll get the yarn that makes the flame stitch. That you can get out, right? Because in Rochelle's, let's say I have a 50, do you know what a harness is in a loom?
It holds
It's
the
what keeps the threads
thread, yeah.
tight, no?
Yeah.
But it also the more harnesses you have, the greater the design capacity, right?
It's what lifts up, like,
Yes, it
Keeps
lifts up the
moving.
warp
Yeah, it
yarn.
keeps
It
moving,
lifts up
yeah.
the warp,
Yeah.
and then the shuttle passes, right? So if you had a 56 bar lace machine, that's like having a 56 harness woven, which the limit is 24, and then it goes to dobbies. 24 to 32 is a dobby weave. Like what's the most common? what's the most common Dobby fabric? I can't think of it right now. No, it does make a PK. Anyhow, it'll come to me at one point. But anyway, so let's say I have a lace that's 56 bars. How many bars make a stitch? One. Only one holds it all together. So, if I have a, you know, let's say this is my chain stitch, you know, like a, any of you have like a cat or a dog, a food bag, you know how you rip open the, and it just zips open? That's a chain stitch. We use this also in knitting. So, I'm sorry, I erased this, I don't know what it is. If I want to do a design, I come in like this and I just lay in, it's called. It never goes around the needle, never. So that's why you're able to get these yarns out, because they're not locked in, all right? In this particular one it is, but I can't get into the details, it's too technical. That this is, you know, not made on the normal, it's not made on a machine like this.
Oh.
And this looks like a high number of bars, right? You see how the blue disconnects? So
Yeah,
this
it's
machine, you can't just make the yarn disappear.
Right.
It has to still knit. But this machine, it clips it while it's knitting. That's why it's so expensive. Because if all these yarns are connected, I would then have to ship it to a clipper. And then the clipper ships it to the dye house. That's 2 trucking, right? This eliminates that if you're willing to spend the money on the machine. However, so this is only 4 bars because it's a jacquard. There's 1 bar for the solid black that's coming across, making it opaque. There's 1 bar for what looks like the fringe. There's another bar for the blue. And what's the 4th bar? The spandex, and it's always in the back of the machine. The spandex is always in the back. So the spandex, is it strong or weak?
Strong.
It's weak.
Oh, wait.
It's the spandex is weak,
That's good stretch.
and that's why it has good stretch. The spandex is weak, which is why when it's in the back, and it's in the back of every fabric, it has to be protected. Because if it's weak, every time you take a step, it's abrasion. And eventually it will break down. You have to consider all this stuff. I know it's a lot. And I'm like just scratching the surface here. What else? What else?
Who makes those decisions then? Like if you're a designer,
The fabric, we
is
did.
the factory?
No, we did, because if there's a defect in the fabric, it comes back to us. The converter's gonna come back to me. If I had problems, then, and we always had something happening when you're producing that much, I always worked it out between myself and the dye house. The converter just accepted it, because we own the machines. You know, they always like to say, oh, let me talk to my mill. I always say, it's not your mill, it's my mill. I said, and we'll see, we'll do what we feel is appropriate. Because they don't know enough about manufacturing. And then if you let your customer run your business, you're gonna be run out of business.
Hey, say that again.
So we bought our yarns all
We call
from
them
the
yarns?
Carolinas.
You call them yarns.
Yeah, so there's fiber becomes yarn.
Yarn.
What are the 5 segments? What's the
Okay,
smallest
sure.
component of a fabric? Fiber. Fiber becomes yarn. Yarn becomes fabric. What do I do? And this is where it's gray goods. And there's minimums involved, right? Our minimum was 3,000 pounds. I wasn't gonna set up a machine for less than that. What do I do with the gray goods? What do I add to it?
Any
Okay.
finishes or colors?
Color.
Color.
You gotta add color. How do you add color?
Dye?
Or
Print.
dye or print.
Man.
And then, can I cut and sew here?
No.
No, what's next?
Any treatments or finishes?
Finish. You must, every fabric has to go through a finishing stage, except muslin. Muslin's the only one that comes off the loom and goes right onto the tube, all right? And it has a finish. If you ever, cotton is absorbent, right? All cellulosics are. If you've ever put a drop of water on muslin, does it absorb? No, because it has a finish on it. The finish is there so you can make a good pattern. That's why it's there. Anybody ever get waxed? They use muslin without finish.
Oh, yeah.
The strips,
Yeah,
those are
yeah.
muslin without the finish. That's all it is. See, there's a lot of different end uses,
Yeah.
right?
So like if you find fabric that it says it's like, for example, like IKEA sells fabric, so it's like unbleached cotton. And would that have a finish?
It depends on what they're using it for.
Yeah.
Like, like these don't have a finish,
Yeah.
right? Because it would affect the end use. Some fabrics you want to have a finish. All of you have sewn, I'm sure, right? What's easier to sew? A fabric that's sort of nice and drapey, or one that has some body?
Body.
Yeah.
Body.
I know, and then if you start sewing the other ones, how many pins are you using to hold it?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Listen, I used to sew. Learned how to sew in high school, and then I went to FIT, and then I had to do more sewing. We had to make our own button-down shirt pattern and then sew it. Anyhow, so the finishing comes down to the end use, right? Most people like soft and drapey fabrics to wear, but nobody likes to sew them. No one. And they're difficult, but as you're handling fabrics, they slowly break down. The finish slowly breaks down. And then a lot of the times, for different reasons, sometimes you're supposed to wash the garment before you wear it, right? Jeans. Jeans, you see that label a lot, because what happens to them? No.
Oh, sorry.
Color now. What happens if you wear them without washing them first?
Oh.
Right? Your white sneakers turn blue, right? That's called crocking, by the way. All right? And sometimes, so crocking is transfer of color by rubbing. Okay? Jeans have to be, if you ever want to put a little bit of blue back into an old pair, wash them with a new pair. Look how blue the water is. Look how blue the water is when you open up that machine. Okay? What else? Frosting is loss of color by rubbing. Right? So sometimes when you see, guys mostly I think that's because I grew up in New York. My wallet stays in my front pocket. A lot of times you see the outline of a wallet on somebody's back pocket because the abrasion, right? That's called frosting.
Or is it like when my pants at work, I'm on the floor, so.
Yeah, so you're losing color by rubbing. Crocking is transfer of color by rubbing. That's why I have to laugh sometimes when I see all these Teslas with white interiors. And what's popular? Jeans. And then people want to know why their seat looks blue.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gotta be the car, right? It's not the car. Maybe the car needs to come with a label, no jeans allowed. That's what's happening. Right, unless you wash. And even then, it always seems to come off.
Yeah.
the color.
Yeah.
I don't know, what time is it? It's 11 o'clock. I don't know, what else? Questions?
There are shoes that dye your socks. How do you deal with that? The inside of
Because of the interior. The interior is coming off onto the sock. The only thing you can do is either wash the shoe first or wash the sock. Eventually, nobody's going to see it anyway.
That's right.
Isn't there something that color fasting is with vinegar? If you're
That's when you're dyeing with
bathing into-
acid, right? So cotton takes direct dyes. Cotton takes what is it called? Dispersers for polyester synthetics. Acid is for nylon, and cotton uses direct, and I can't think of the that dyes. All right. So cotton is easier to dye, but more costly because it absorbs more. So it's saturating more of the dye, so the cost goes up. Right? There are minimums. So I will say this before I get kicked out here. The whole world has gone digital, right? Yeah. But you still need to know how to make a fabric.
Hey,
You cannot wear a
that's
virtual
right.
fabric.
That's right.
You have to know. Yes, can you feed a machine that will someday be computerized, which many of them are? You still need to know what to tell the machine. You need to know what yarn you're using, what the weight is. I'll say this last thing. I didn't get
And
into
solve
weights.
problems.
Yeah. So when you source a fabric, what 3 pieces to the puzzle do you need to source a fabric?
How much fabric do you need? Like,
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, let's say you have a swatch and you're going to give it to a vendor. What 3 pieces of information do you think they need?
Fiber.
You need to know fiber. What else?
Finish.
Structure.
and print.
No, because color can be changed.
Weight,
Weight.
Thanks, girl.
Weight is either ounces per square yard or kilograms per square meter. What's longer, a meter or a yard? Meter, right, by about 10%. Not quite, it's 0.0962 or something. Anyway, you need these three pieces: fiber, structure, weight. Structure, not just simply woven. There's a plain weave, twill weave, there's so many. Knit, not just weft knit or warp. You need to be specific. Yeah, jersey, rib,
Rib.
interlock. So you would call a vendor and say, okay, I'm looking for 100% cotton, jersey, 6 ounce. And this will narrow down your choices. And otherwise, if you just say, send me a cotton jersey, you know how many different swatches you're gonna
Right.
get? Weights all over the place, right? So the weight is pretty much end use related, right? What do you think typically weighs more, knits or wovens? Now, everything being the same. The knits, because they use more yarn. This uses, I took it off. My little ribbon before, the weft knit, that uses a lot more yarn than a woven that's just being interlaced. So, but they feel lighter and airy because they're open, like your sweater. Your sweater is made, that's a rib sweater. I don't know your name. Stephanie. Her sweater, it looks like it might be a lightweight or a medium weight. This is probably 11, 12 ounce fabric that she's wearing.
Wow.
Right? Swimwear is maybe 6 or 8 ounce, but it has more coverage. Make sense?
Yes.
Because it's filament. Do you know the difference between filament and spun?
Somewhat.
filament is solid
Somebody-
and spun is 3 fibers.
Okay,
Wound
so
together.
spun, you're right, those are the directions. So spun comes from staple
Staple.
fiber, short. All natural fibers are staple, except which one? Silk. Silk is the only natural filament. And silk has a limit.
Yeah.
The cocoons produce 2,500 to 3,000 meters, but it's still considered filament. Spun is softer, it has less drape, filament is stronger, better drape.
Silk is
Polyester is a filament.
Polyester is a filament, or what's a common blend with polyester? Cotton, right? You can, but it doesn't really work well. They do not mix or blend filament with staple. They take the poly, they cut it into staple, and then they blend it. Does that make sense? It's called a carding machine, combing. Right? And then they spin the yarn. They call it, it doesn't just come out to be a yarn, it comes out, it's called sliver.
Yeah.
And then they twist it.
Anybody wearing faux fur in here? Okay. Faux fur, nice high pile. That is sliver, put right into the machine. It's called sliver knit. That's how they get that high pile. It's neither cut nor uncut. You need sliver to pull it to the back of the machine. So I know it's a little technical, but that's how I am.
No, it's
I
great.
like this
It
side of it.
is.
I miss
It
it
is.
so
Quick
much.
though,
You can't even tell
Before we
you.
wrap up, so since they're knocking off a knit pant
Okay.
and making a block, and then they're gonna sew an original design from that block, now whatever original knockoff garment they used had a stretch ratio,
Yes.
which we were talking about. So if they want it to fit properly, they're gonna have to choose a new fabric that
has the
what is a
same
good way for
stretch.
them to
So this
gauge
is
that?
like, so this is how you want it to end up. It has the stretch. Do what I said, the stretch test, you know, but do it how you want to wear it, right? You know, our guy in the mill, Heinz Zimmerman, if that gives you any idea, big burly German dude, he would be like, oh, plenty of stretch. It's like, Heinz, nobody's wearing it like this, all right? So we stopped. He's like, you can't do that anymore. You need somebody with gentle hands. So you test your stretch, because if you're gonna knock off a legging, you're knocking it off relaxed. So when you go to cut your pattern in a fabric, make sure it has the same stretch,
Similar
otherwise
stretch.
it's not gonna fit the same.
Similar stretch.
Yeah, otherwise it will not fit the same. It's that
Pull
simple.
on it, feel it, make sure it has a
Mhm.
similar feel, like.
But normal, you know, like, you know, not like here and not like this, you know, just like relaxed. So that's why they have machines. It's a certain size sample. There's a certain amount of grams on the weight, and then that's how they do it without. Because once you introduce the human element, then you will get varieties of results. So you use machines, and then it's more consistent.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.